Okay, so now let's talk about the other two pieces of assessment. Quizzes, as you noticed, were 10 points a pop. So if you do your minimum of 10, that adds up to 100 total points towards your overall grade. If you do more than 10, that'll be more than 100 points, and we'll see how that plays in momentarily. Projects. Projects are, they're hard to describe, and using these words, quizzes, projects, exams, might not even be the best way to describe them. Quizzes essentially are homework. Projects are as good as the textbooks are that we use. There are still topics that, for whatever reason, still don't make it into statistics textbooks. For example, in Math 243, probability, in my opinion, is still taught archaically. And certain things like computer simulations to develop methods of probability are in their infancy. I've designed projects to attack these topics, and I've designed them in such a way that they are self-tutorial. Let's take a look at one just for grins. Let's take a look at the schedule page, week 8, which is, I just mentioned, computer simulation. So project super counting. Now, these, I'm going to take one before we get into this document. You'll notice that all the projects are linked right now. Every project is already hyperlinked. You can get into any of these at any given time. I'm going to caveat that with the fact that I have to finish making this particular one for Math 105. By the time you're watching this video, hopefully that will be uplinked soon. Anyway, so super counting. All right. This is an Excel-driven, like many of them are, an Excel-driven video that augments the basic study of probability and counting that you've been doing for all your lives, or the couple weeks you've had class with me. And it takes it into the world methods that are currently used by people like Nate Silver, for example, or any research statistician that needs to use technology in a way to kind of jump over to the other side of probability. So out of the strict academic view and into the more applied view. They're a little bit wordy because I type like I talk, which is an East Coast Mid-Atlantic Italian. And if you kind of watch it as it goes, as you're reading down, you'll be able to hear me actually reading to you. They're very descriptive. You will become a good reader in this class if you're not already one. If you are one, you'll become a better reader. But you have to read. You have to read to understand what's going on in these projects. Okay, and they'll be updated a little bit. Like for example, these are TI screenshots, and I need to update some of this thing without having TI componentry to it. So anyway, that's a project. Now, it's a lot of writing, and you might ask yourself, wait a minute, you just said that projects are worth 25 points. How do I know where the points are? In all these things, the quizzes, the projects, and the exams, you'll see little things that have points next to them, like 4 points. So let's just go back to that schedule page again. Let's go back to that particular project in week 8, and let's find one of the problems you have to work. I think I saw one up here as I went by. It's right there. Here's a number of them. 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points. Those are all worth 2 points. So that's 10 total points towards your 25 on this project. If you scroll up a little bit further, you'll see some more. Yeah, here we go. Here's 3 points here. Here's 2 points here. Notice how these have a W next to them. We'll talk about that. That means you have to show me how you arrived at your answer. I'll give you a brief introduction to this. We'll talk more about it in class. For these down here, you can simply have an answer. These are pure computational questions here. Number 7 is actually an interpretation. You have to write a little bit about. Up here, though, I want to see how you got the number you got. I don't want to just see the answer, because these answers are huge. I mean, huge numbers in these particular examples. I don't want to just see the number. I want to know how you got that huge. I want to follow your process of thought as you go through that. So some have W's, some don't. The ones that do, you have to support your answer or you don't get points. The ones that don't have a W, you just give me the answer, and I'm a happy guy. So, okie dokie. So far, so good. All right. So the projects, like the quizzes, are due no later than the start of class on their due date. So just like quizzes were, they're due, suppose that one was week 8, you know, your class starts at 10:15, that thing is due no later than 10:15 on that day in Blackboard. And again, we'll get to Blackboard momentarily once we get through it. Okie dokie. And I think the same thing applies. You can work in groups, you can work alone. We'll talk more, like I said, about what it means to work in groups or work alone, and we'll talk about that when we talk about exams right down here. Okay, so that's projects. There are 4 of those altogether. I believe they're in week 3, week 6, week 8, and week 10. And 4 of them times 25 points gives you 100 more total points. So the overall weight of projects equals the minimum overall weight of quizzes. Okay, and last but not least, I call these things exams. There are 2 of them. There is one that will be linked in week 5, and there's one that will be linked, I believe, in week 11. They are a summative assessment. They're basically an idea of we're going to collect all the knowledge we've learned up to a point and put them in one mandatory document. This is what I was talking about before when I said you can choose your own adventure with the quizzes, but you will be responsible for certain topics on the exams. So you have to demonstrate to me that you can do these summative assessments. Typo. I'll fix that later. They're not like projects, because projects are not discussed in class. They really are self-guided explorations, extensions. These pretty much are all really stuff we've discussed in class, just checking in again. I'm a big fan of honoring the forgetting curve. If you haven't heard of the forgetting curve, ask me and I'll tell you about it. The best way to honor the exponential decay of the forgetting curve is to constantly assess you, whether it's due quizzes or exams or in-class quizzes. So I just want to make sure I clarify real quick what original work means. So I love when you guys work together. I think it's one of the greatest skills you can develop in any college level class. The subject is almost secondarily important to how well you can work as a team. Most of what you do in your jobs will require you to work as part of a team. If you choose to work together, that's totally rad. Just make sure that you work together properly. So here's something I want to show you. I got permission from 2 students who worked on exam 1 for Math 243 together once. Take a look at this one. Here's one person's work. Oops, it's connecting. It's trying. There we go. So here's the first person's work. I asked them on this exam to look at a map. This was when one of the Oregon ballot measures was going up, and pick some random elements of the map and measure them using a centimeter ruler. You can say, so you got a number of centimeter ruler measurements here. Lots of nice, neat. I mean, it's handwritten, totally awesome. They made a PDF document of it. We'll talk about that. Okay. Here's some examples of graphs they pulled out of the news offline, and here's some Excel work they did. Okay. Here is a person I know they are working with because they told me they were. Okay. Connecting. It's loading. Here we go. All right. Now notice, it looks similar, but notice also they got different numbers because they picked different random numbers, which is kind of the point. When you scroll down further, you'll notice that they also picked different graphs. This is also part of the point. Now this looks similar, but this didn't need to be turned in. This work, I can tell they worked together, but I also know that they did their own work. What I envision students sitting kind of next to each other, talking, sharing ideas. Oh, I never thought about that. How about this? Blah, 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 back and forth, back and forth. What I do not want to see is a single document uploaded to 4 or 5 or 3 or even 2 different students' Blackboard accounts. This happens every term, and I hate this because when that happens, that means I will give you zeros on it. Okay? Working together means working together. That also means creating your own unique document. So please don't push me on this. I hate doing this every term. If 2 or more students submit the exact same document for any assessment, you will get zeros. Now I know sometimes people say, well, we had one person type it up. We all worked on it. That doesn't fly. That doesn't fly. I'm sorry. It's too easy to sit back and be a wallflower in a situation like that. You must type up your own unique document. And I think you know what that means. If you don't know what it means, let's talk to me and find out. Let's understand what that means. Now, I'd rather do that than have you get a 0 on an assessment. Okie doke. So those are 100 points each. There are 2 of them. One is going to be listed in week 5, like I said, and one in week 11. All right. So real quick, let's stop this video. Again, it's about 9.5 minutes now. And we'll talk about grading and then come back to this page. So we're going to stop this one now, and then we'll talk about grading.